The Louvre is the busiest museum on Earth, and it's drowning. 9 million people a year are crushed into a space built for 4. So, how do you make it bigger when you can't add a single thing anyone can see? You can't build out, can't build up, can't touch the face of the building. There's exactly one direction left, and it's the one that could sink the entire project. The plan is called the Louvre New Renaissance, a roughly 700 to 800 million euro overhaul, stretched across nearly a decade, that will carve new galleries and a new entrance out of the ground beneath the palace. A second Louvre, hidden under the first. And the headline of the whole thing is a single room, built for one painting. I'm sure you can guess which one. Yes, the Mona Lisa is getting her own purpose-made gallery underground, with a separate ticket for the first time in her modern life. It's an elegant idea on paper, but the problem is what's waiting in the ground they have to dig through. The Louvre sits inside a UNESCO World Heritage Site, hemmed in on every side by some of the most protected, expensive, and untouchable real estate on the planet. So the rules are brutal. Because under a building this old, the dirt itself is a minefield. One wrong shovel could freeze the entire project for years. Here's why. Most people think of the Louvre as one building. It isn't. It's roughly 800 years of construction stacked on top of itself. Started as a fortress under King Philip II around 1190 AD, rebuilt as a royal palace, expanded by monarch after monarch, and finally handed to the public as a museum after the Revolution. The footprint covers about 652,000 square feet of galleries. Walk all of it, and you've covered the better part of 9 football fields indoors. And underneath the oldest courtyard, the Cour Carrée. The original medieval fortress is still there, or at least parts of it. Its foundations were uncovered in dedicated excavations in 1984 to 1985, during the broader Grand Louvre modernization. And today you can walk past the bare stone of the old moat and the base of the keep. That matters because the new plan calls for digging an entirely new wing directly beneath and around that courtyard. Essentially, the team is excavating around an 800-year-old castle that the law treats as untouchable. This is the heart of the project. The part Macron stood next to the Mona Lisa to announce in January 2025, and the part a New York and Paris team officially won the right to build in May 2026. It's called the Louvre Nouvelle Renaissance, and the plan breaks down into 3 moves. Move 1 is the entrance. Right now, almost everyone enters through Pei's glass pyramid. It's beautiful, and it's a bottleneck. In summer, it acts like a greenhouse, trapping heat over the crowd funneling underneath it. And its shape amplifies sound until the entry hall roars. So the new design pulls the main entry to the opposite side of the palace, the eastern facade, the Grand Colonnade, a row of giant paired columns built in the 1600s and largely left out of Pei's renovation almost 40 years ago. 2 new entrances will be cut in on either side, down at the level of the old defensive moats, on the Seine side and the Rue de Rivoli side. From street level, the historic facade barely changes. Move 2 is the underground wing. Beneath the Cour Carrée and its surrounding gardens, the team will excavate a whole new layer of the museum. New exhibition galleries and a large modular hall for temporary shows. These are the blockbuster exhibitions the Louvre currently struggles to host because it simply doesn't have the floor space. All of it underground. And finally, move 3, the headline, is the painting. The Mona Lisa is small, about 30 inches by 21 inches, painted on a poplar panel, behind glass, railing, and a daily crowd of around 20,000 people. She lives in the Salle des Etats, the largest room in the Louvre, which she shares with some of the biggest canvases in the collection, including Veronesi's Wedding Feast at Cana, a painting so large the Mona Lisa looks like a postage stamp on the opposite wall. The result is the worst-kept secret in the art world. Most people are disappointed. They wait, shuffle, get a few seconds at a distance, then they photograph the back of someone's head, and they leave. The new Renaissance plan gives her a room of her own, a purpose-built gallery, underground, beneath the Cour Carrée, with its own separate entrance and, this is the part that made headlines, its own separate ticket. The idea is to pull the single biggest crowd magnet entirely out of the main galleries. Everyone wins. The people who came only for her get a calmer look, and the people who came for the other 35,000 works finally get to move. The catch is everything it takes to actually build it. Start with who's paying, because that's where this project nearly came apart before a single shovel hit the ground. Macron has been clear that French taxpayers won't foot the bill. The money, somewhere in the range of 700 to 800 million euros, which is roughly $750 million to nearly $1 billion, is meant to come from two sources. One is the Louvre's licensing deal with Louvre Abu Dhabi, the outpost in the desert that pays handsomely to use the name. The other is a price hike for visitors from outside the European Union, which kicks in to make the tourists who fill those galleries help pay for them. It's a tidy plan, again, on paper. And then there's the part nobody planned for. On October 19, 2025, in broad daylight, thieves broke into the Louvre's Galerie des Apollons.
A hunt is underway for thieves after priceless jewels were stolen from one of the world's most famous museums, the Louvre in Paris.
Robbery at the world-famous Louvre Museum in Paris.
Who stole the jewels from the Louvre
and made off with 8 pieces of the French crown jewels. Not a tunnel job or a midnight heist, but a brazen, fast, daytime robbery from the most visited museum on the planet. It was humiliating, and it instantly turned a renovation focused on crowds and comfort into one focused on security. The jury that picked the winning design said so directly. They praised the plan's handling of safety. So the new Renaissance isn't just adding galleries. Buried in the plan is a full upgrade of the museum's bones. Better surveillance, hardened electrical and computer networks, modern fireproofing and waterproofing, and the kind of climate control a building full of 500-year-old canvases should have had decades ago. The glamorous part is the Mona Lisa's new room. The necessary part is everything you'll never see: the wiring, cameras, seals, and the pumps. Which brings us finally to the dirt. Digging under a city is never simple. Digging under this part of Paris is a special kind of hard because of where the Louvre sits, right on the bank of the Seine. The river is close enough that the ground beneath the palace isn't solid bedrock, but a high, sensitive water table that rises and falls with the river. Any deep excavation here means fighting groundwater that wants to seep back in and managing soil that shifts when disturbed. And the Seine doesn't only seep, it floods. In 2016, the river rose to its highest level in decades and forced the Louvre into emergency mode. Staff scrambled to move artworks out of vulnerable lower-level storage before the water could reach them. It was a stark reminder that the most famous museum on Earth sits on a floodplain. Now hold those two facts together. The plan is to dig a new wing and the Mona Lisa's gallery below ground, in a building that has already had to evacuate art from a flood, on soil saturated by a river a stone's throw away. That means the new underground spaces can't just be dug and decorated. They have to be waterproof to a standard most basements never face. Seal against a water table from the sides and braced against a potential flood from above. It's less like building a basement and more like building a hole. And every bit of that digging has to happen in micro-precision conditions because of what's sitting right next to it. When the Louvre was last excavated in the 1980s, the amount of intact medieval fortress still buried down there surprised everyone. Therefore, the risk is real and specific. That's the tightrope. Dig fast enough to hit a deadline, dig gently enough not to crack a castle, and be ready to stop completely the moment the ground hands you a piece of history you didn't know was there. The target date is 2031. That's when the new entrance and the Mona Lisa's gallery are meant to open. The wider overhaul runs through the early 2030s, making this close to a decade of construction on a building that will stay open the entire time. And it's worth stepping back to appreciate how strange that ambition really is. Most mega projects get to start with an empty site. They clear the land, pour the foundation, and build up. The Louvre gets none of that. Every cubic foot of new space has to be carved out of ground that's already occupied by a water table, a medieval castle, the footings of a palace, and the daily march of tens of thousands of visitors. It's basically an open-heart surgery on a patient who refuses to lie down. The question is whether it actually solves the problem it set out to solve. Because here's the honest part. Not everyone is convinced. Go back to the staff who went on strike. Their argument wasn't really about the Mona Lisa, it was about priorities. They watched a water pipe burst over the Egyptian department's research library, damaging an estimated 300 to 400 books and archival documents, a vivid symbol of a crumbling building. Months after the president had announced a billion-dollar showpiece. To them, the priorities were backward. Fix the roof before you build the cathedral. And it's a fair challenge. A gorgeous new underground gallery doesn't mean much if the galleries above it are still flooding. The new Renaissance does fold in the unglamorous fixes, such as waterproofing, climate control, electrical, and security upgrades. But those are the parts that don't make the rendering. The risk, the one critics keep pointing at, is that the spectacle gets funded and finished while the plumbing waits. Then there's the deeper question, the one that's harder to answer with engineering. Will giving the Mona Lisa her own room actually fix the Mona Lisa problem? Going underground might not fix everything, it might not even fix the main thing. Because the deepest problem at the Louvre isn't the architecture, it's the math. Most of those 20,000 daily Mona Lisa visitors aren't there to study a painting, they're there to take a photograph and prove they were there. And a separate ticket raises an uncomfortable question of its own. The Louvre's whole identity, since the revolution, has been that the people's art belongs to the people. Putting the world's most famous painting behind its own paywall, however small, sits a little awkwardly with that. There's precedent for the backlash too. When I. M. Pei proposed his glass pyramid in the 1980s, Parisians were furious. Critics called it an annex to Disneyland, a scar on a historic palace. Today, it's one of the most beloved structures in the city and the symbol of the entire museum. So the lesson cuts both ways. Bold changes at the Louvre have been hated and then loved before. This one will be judged the same way. Not in 2031 when it opens, but in the decades after. What's not in doubt is the ambition of the thing. The easy move most likely would have been to cap the tickets, limit the crowds, time the entries, let the problem manage itself. Plenty of museums do exactly that. Instead, the Louvre decided to absorb more, 3 million more a year, and to solve a problem of too many people by building one more room beneath their feet, rather than turning anyone away. None of it exists yet. That's the thing to hold on to. Right now, it's renderings, surveys, and a winning design that still has to survive years of consultation, heritage law, groundwater, and whatever the shovels find under the Cour Curie. The medieval wall nobody mapped. The flood nobody scheduled. The strike nobody can rule out. And one of them could push 2031 further down the calendar. Whether 800 million euros and half a decade of digging can deliver, that is the question all this engineering can't answer yet. If you found this as fascinating as we did, there's a whole library of stories like it on the channel. Impossible builds, hidden engineering, and the strange decisions that shape the cities around you. Subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.